Okay guys, so here we go again. We're going to revisit one of my favorite topics. This is one of the things that set this channel off about 3 years ago, and it's something that everybody wants to know. We're going to be revisiting an all-new version of avoid moving to Florida unless you can handle these 12 things. Now, there could be a couple bonuses in there. Hang on to the end because this is going to be completely random. They're not putting any order as far as importance, but they're all things that you're going to experience when you move here. So stay tuned. We're getting after it next. We're going to pick the topics randomly and discuss them. So you ready to go? Let's see what we've got. Home maintenance and AC paint. Okay, home maintenance here in this area, it's not going to be a ton different than a lot of other places, but a couple of things that really stand out for us here in Florida are the fact that the AC units here are used a ton, much more than you would be in any other part of the country. And because of that, the harsh environment, the heat, the humidity, all that, the drain lines for the AC, they get stopped up with a mold, a goo. It's this very thick, snotty stuff that sits in the drain line, and it backs it up. So what happens then is this water comes back up into the AC, and it trips the float switch. When the float switch gets tripped, then the AC shuts off. So you're not going to have AC. And trust me, on a hot day in the middle of the summer, you're going to want the AC. So that's number one. Another huge thing. I was talking to Andy about this today because he's asking me, hey, what do I need to know when I move into this house? And I said, well, you know, one of the things with the driving rain that we get, our weather is very extreme. You're going to need to paint your home every 5 to 7 years just so that you get the water barrier back restored in the block walls. And if you don't seal the cracks, you will get cracks in your stucco. It happens to every home, so don't panic if you see it on yours. But you have to fill these cracks first, then paint over them. Now you're good for another 5 to 7 years. So those are the two most important and basic things you're going to find as far as maintenance in your home. And it's going to happen to you whether you want it to or not. One thing though, I would recommend you get an AC service plan. I have somebody come every 6 months to take care of mine, and I'm here 4 years without issue. So highly recommend it. All right, so on to our next topic. We're gonna go after tourists and snowbirds. Oh boy, gotta love this one. We're heading right into the season right now, and with tourist and snowbird season, what it really means to us is, yeah, we have an influx of people coming, and what that's going to do is make things hell. Going to restaurants, getting a reservation, driving the roads, lines at stores. I mean, it's just everything. You have all of these things that happen because the snowbirds show up. The only difference is now we don't know who's truly a snowbird because many people have transitioned vehicles down here and changed the plates over to Florida plates. We used to know you by the license. Now we can't tell. So we basically curse everybody that drives badly and takes their good old time, because people here that actually have a job or a place to be, they're trying to get there. They're trying to get there relatively quickly. And many of the seasonal folks and snowbirds, they don't have a schedule. They're just randomly, aimlessly going around. So there's gonna be a little impatience. Try to do your best with that. Give yourself a little extra time. But this snowbird thing is not gonna change. It's great for our economy here. They bring a lot of money to our area, so we have to respect that. But at the same time, know it's going to happen. It's going to happen guaranteed between January and May, and it could start as early as November. Okay, here we go again. Let's jump into contractor issues. Okay, contractor issues. I'm going to speak directly to this one for myself. As you know, I've talked many times about potentially putting a pool on my home. Well, pricing is one of the big problems with the contractor issues. So I'm going to name that first. It's not really the contractor per se, but guess what? Because there's less people that are doing a good job, they're charging more. Everything is more expensive to put up. A pool is now $100,000 for a basic pool with a cage. Yeah, that cage alone is $30,000. Now, trying to get somebody out to give you a quote, all right, check one. You might get them out for a quote. And then they might give you the quote. And you might say you want to go ahead with it. They may or may not show up to get that first deposit or have you send it in. And obviously there's going to be delays with permitting, and it's not really their fault, but there's things you can do to push that along faster. But the point of this is your project is going to take forever. That's just the way it goes. And that's, again, if you can get somebody that'll even do the job. I've had people come out to quote a lanai extension. My lanai is not large. I wanted more outdoor space to be able to enjoy this beautiful weather. Example, today it's a little overcast, but it's maybe low 70s at the highest. This is the perfect day to spend outside. I don't have a lot of space. And as you can see, no screens. But trying to get somebody to do it, I've had people come out and quote and never give me a quote, never reach out to me again. My fence was down for almost a year. I had numerous people come out for that, got numerous quotes. When I called to say, hey, you gonna do the job? No answer. So contractor issues are gonna be a problem. If you need work done, I've got contacts for it. I've got people to help out. Friends of mine are contractors here, but remember, they're building homes. Small jobs can be a little harder to come by, but we will get you connected and get you hooked up and get your projects done. But just realize it's going to take a little bit of patience. All right, we're going to go with wildlife. You know we have gators. You know that we have snakes. You know that we have many kinds of animals here. In fact, right back here, I have a pack of coyotes. And whenever the lightning alarms go off, or whenever the police sirens or ambulances or fire trucks go by, they all start howling right around with it. So they do exist. They're here. Obviously, we have a bunch of other critters, lots of snakes, different kinds of snakes. The black racers, don't touch them. They're good for the killing of poisonous snakes. Yes, that's what they do. So black racers, don't touch them. But the gators and things like that, they're just not common. You don't see these things. Again, I've been here for a very long time. None has ever come to my property. I've seen coyotes at the back of the property, but I have never had them come anywhere near the home. Snakes, the black racers, they'll make their way around a little bit, but again, they're not here to bother me. They're just checking out for food. But again, wildlife, it exists. That's what it is. And we're not going to talk any more about it. Next topic, what do we got here? Property taxes and homestead. Okay, the reason why I want to talk about property taxes and the homestead exemptions is property taxes here, you have a lot of people that are investors, a lot of people have second homes here. And the property taxes, if it wasn't explained to you by your realtor what's going to happen, then you're going to be in for a surprise. Because many homes here have been owned for a number of years by the individuals, so they had their homestead on the property. What that does is it caps your tax increases at 3% at any given time. So if you don't have that cap, it can go up exponentially. It can be double digits. But that homestead locks that in for you. It also gives you a discount on your valuation before the millage is applied to it. So it's going to give you a savings of roughly $50,000 off of that valuation prior to doing the math on it. There is going to be a cost savings on it, but the biggest factor is locking that price in so that you don't end up, or locking that increase in so that you don't see these large increases. There's been so many people complaining about such high tax adjustments. Well, you don't have a homestead and you had the value of your home change tremendously over the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah, you're going to see a big jump. So put the homestead on as soon as you get your home. It won't be applied until the following tax year, but once you do that, it's going to save you a ton. Let's get into, heat and humidity. All right, I think we all know that Florida is a hot place. It's a humid place. Again, I was with Andy today, and he said the only difference between here and California, where he's from, is that when you walk outside, it feels a little warmer. So, you know, California is another place that's relatively hot, certain parts of it. So I get that. I lived out there for a short time, so I understand what he's saying. But the heat and humidity in the summertime, it's almost like standing in front of an oven and opening the door. It can hit you like that. Women, yes, your hair is going to get frizzy. Your makeup may run because you're going to be sweating. Your water bottles in the car are going to get very hot. So take a cooler or something along. I have a cooler in the back of my truck all the time. I have the insulated bags for groceries. Absolutely. If you get anything cold, you want to put it in an insulated bag. I have that sun shield. We put it up in the window so that it protects the inside from overheating as well. Tint your windows. Absolutely tint your windows. But the heat and humidity, you can't get around it. What you can do, though, is do things to overcome it. That's why people ask for a pool. I have a boat so I can get out on the water. On the water, it's much cooler. The breezes out there are amazing. So that's your another option. Also, go inside your AC. That's what the AC is here for. It's like you having heat when it's snowing up north. We have AC for the heat. A lot of different ways to do it, even fans or shade. It's a breezy day again today. You can see this is just what it is. The tree limbs moving back there. We have breezes most of the time. We're a coastal city, and if you're in a coastal area, that's what's going to happen. The breezes will help things keep things cooler, but heat and humidity, it is a reality of being in Florida, so we had to put it on the list. Next one, elevation issues. This is a newer problem. You know that we had Hurricane Ian last year, and we had a lot of water come in, and we realized that many of our properties need to be built higher. Some of the homes were built higher already because they were on septic previously, but we don't build them up as high as that if we don't have to. And what's happened recently is people started building a home up higher and even using stem walls in some cases, which does help. But what this also did is as a home sits, a new home sits next to an older home with a different elevation, it's flooding out that lower home. Yes, unintentional, not thought would ever happen, but while you're protecting one home, you're screwing another one. Because every time it rains now, that water is forced down in that other property. Water runs downhill, right? Same concept here. So what they're doing is they're now kind of reassessing the permitting for the land when they're grading it, and they're going to have to make adjustments so that those grades aren't so extreme that it forces all that water into a neighboring property and floods them out. We've got, oh no, horrible drivers. Ugh. You guys already know how I feel about this. Left lane lingerers. I'm not going to beat this to death because you've heard it 100 times. I, first of all, am not a patient driver, but I'm not erratic either. I just like for people to understand how to do it and do it well enough that they're not causing problems. So when people are, driving down the road and kind of looking around, or they're paying attention to an accident on the side of the road instead of just driving forward, maybe they're going 30 miles an hour in a 55, which can happen. It does happen. But just be conscious of the people around you, especially if you're here visiting. If you're a snowbird or somebody that is not in a hurry, pay attention to the flow of traffic. Try to stay out of the way. The people that are here working or trying to get somewhere, that's where you're going to see the impatience. When people are a little more in a hurry and people are just lingering and getting in the way, yeah, it's a frustration. I get it. I understand it. But you might need to exercise a little bit more patience when you're driving places, and just be aware you're going to see people run red lights. You're going to see people not use turn signals. They're going to squeeze in. They're going to cut you off. This happens. You can't stop it. It's probably happening in many of the places that you all come from. In fact, why don't you comment down below where you think driving is more horrible than here? Traffic and construction. Obviously, we are in a high construction area, and I already just talked about the traffic. It is what it is. But the construction vehicles within this traffic make things move much, much slower. The dump trucks, if they're fully loaded, it takes them forever to get going. So note that when you're getting in a line of traffic so you can best navigate that. But the construction itself, whether it's homes, whether it's all the commercial buildings, we have a ton of commercial buildings going in right now. We have a ton of apartment buildings that are being put up, storage facilities, car washes. Yeah, and it's all repetitive, one after the other after the other. So this construction, it is stopping no time soon. The number of projects, I showed it in a video a number of weeks ago. All the projects that are just coming here to Cape Coral, let alone the ones in Fort Myers and all up and down the coast, there's going to be a ton of construction. The desire to be here, the demand to be here is still very, very high, and it's going to continue the pressing forward on this construction, but you need to be aware it's happening everywhere. Roadways are starting to be expanded to handle the infrastructure changes, and you are going to find yourself in these scenarios very often. So get ready for it. It's coming. All right, next one. Severe weather. That's a surprise, right? We already addressed Hurricane Ian, so we know that's the most severe storm that we've had recently, actually in our history. Nobody expected to do what it did, and we're not going to talk about this anymore, but what I want to address here is severe weather isn't just hurricanes. We have infant hurricanes. They're called tropical storms, and you're going to get a lot of wind. You're going to get a lot of water. So that will happen in between, and if you don't get that, our thunderstorms can be absolutely ridiculous. The lightning is extreme. The thunder can be almost nerve-wracking for some people. In fact, animals a lot of times have a real hard time with it. It's equivalent to some of the big fireworks. And if you're driving in it, the driving rain, so many people pull off the road, have their blinkers on. So pay attention when it's driving rain. And if you're somebody that isn't comfortable driving in it, because you can hydroplane very easy. If you think about the amount of water that can hit the streets in a short period of time, and you don't have good tires or you have older tires, you could find yourself sliding across that road. It literally happened to me the other day. I was changing lanes and it was just a little bit of a drizzle, and I have a F-150 pickup truck and the back end started fishtailing. So what do? Get off the accelerator, straighten out, and be on your way. Just be aware it can happen, and these weather issues are going to happen more often than you may want, but it's a reality of living in Florida. Allergies. Oof. This is a big one for me. It didn't take until about 10 years ago for me to first realize I had allergies, because I didn't really have any symptoms. And it got to a point where I was at the doctor more often than I wanted to be, and I was never a sick person to begin with. But any number of antibiotics or anything else I could pick up, it wasn't working. Nothing would work. I was sick. And I started doing some testing. Some people, thought, hey, try this Mucinex, try this spray, try that. It wasn't until I talked to Dave. He was one of my clients. He worked for the Coast Guard, and he had allergy problems too. And he started using a spray. These sprays, I'll put the name down below. I can't remember off the top of my head what the concoction is or what the name brand is, but these sprays, one on each side every day. I might do 2 if I'm going to spend some time outside, but you will notice the difference just doing that. I went out the other day, I was outside, forgot to put the spray in, my head was blowing up. We do have a lot of allergens here, obviously with all the plants and trees, but if you suddenly start feeling sick after a period of time and never experienced that before, and it feels like it's all in your head, you might want to get yourself checked for allergies. There's plenty of places you can go to get that done, but that is what I found to be the problem. And there are solutions and they do work, but check it out if you're having those problems. Oh, insurance, lovely. I know everybody wants to talk about insurance. What I will say about insurance, this is a huge topic because there's a number of factors in this. Age of the home is going to play a part. Many of the older homes don't have storm protection on all the openings. They might have a gable style roof instead of a hip style, and I'll show you, I'll get a clip of that to show you what that is. The gable is when you have a peak, a point at the top like a triangle, and the hip is when it's a flat line all the way across. If you have 10% or more of gables, you do not get the full credits for your insurance. If you do not have all your window and door openings covered with storm protection, you don't get the full credits. There are things like the 3 nails on your hurricane strap. If you don't have that 3rd nail, you're not getting the full credit. Now, that one is an easy one. They can come out and put the 3rd nail in all the different rafters up there in your trusses. And once that's done, it might cost $1,000 to do it, but I think the annual savings is something like $600 to $1,000 anyway. So it's worth it. I've had many clients do it. It helps out. But older homes are going to have probably more challenging times with insurance. People that are on the water or in a floodplain, you're going to have a little bit more of a challenge. If you want to live that lifestyle, all you have to do is just know that I need to account for higher insurance. The new construction homes, you're in a great spot with that. New construction homes not only have all the code changes, all the efficiencies, they usually have now impact glass windows, impact doors, impact garage doors. So all that stuff plays a part in there. So I do see a lot more people coming for new construction. I think this is one of the factors, but insurance, it's going to get better. Obviously we've had a big challenge in our recent past, and a lot of companies had to pull out, but there's a lot of companies coming back. So be patient. We'll get through this. Some people like myself have not had much change at all in insurances, but that's, again, I have a 4-year-old home. That does help out. And all the things that we just talked about with the roof style and with the storm protection, I have it all. So it helps me get the extra credits. So keep that in mind. Insurance-wise, there's ways around it, but make sure that you have these basics on a home before you commit to it. Okay, we're getting down to the end here. Oh, bugs, spiders, and ants. All right, the reason why I put this in a separate category is because bugs, spiders, and ants, they're everywhere. It's going to happen. You've heard all about palmetto bugs or roaches, flying roaches, all that. This year I haven't seen much of that at all. Even on the rainy times, that's when you normally find palmetto bugs or seeking moisture. Haven't really seen them. What I have seen is right up there. See that? See that black thing up there? There's one over here in the corner too. That is mud daubers. They look like a wasp, and they are not going to hurt you. What they actually do, did a little research on this and found out they kill black widow spiders. They literally take them up into those nests and save them as their food. So they have a great purpose, just like that black racer we talked about in killing poisonous snakes. It'll take care of our cottonmouths. So some of these things that might seem like a nuisance are actually very good for us. But the one that's not very good for us is fire ants, red ants, very small. If you see a mound that looks like a pile of sand, do not touch it. If you slightly touch this thing, you will end up with a swarm of red ants, and they're fast, they're small, and once they get on you, they will just transfer right up your sandals, your tennis shoes, your pant leg, and they are destined to do one thing: bite your skin. And once they do, many people blister. It hurts like hell. So avoid red ants at all costs. As far as other bugs like mosquitoes and no-see-ums, yeah, we have certain times of the year that you'll have problems with that. If you have screening around your pool or in your lanai, you're not going to get so much of the effects of it. We do have these breezes, so that helps. And when the cooler temperatures come, they're almost non-existent. But they exist. Every warm climate will have bugs and spiders and snakes and everything else. So it's not really any different. It just might seem like there's more of them. High home prices and rent prices. Okay, I knew we were going to get to this one eventually. And what I found when I was going through the numbers, median prices right now, Cape Coral is coming in at $409. This is for a single family home only, and I did not put any parameters on it about pool, no pool, waterfront, no waterfront. This is just left everything open. So Cape Coral is at $409,000. Fort Myers is $490,000. Punta Gorda, even going north of us, a smaller town, $505 now is their median price. And if you just head south, like it's been ever since I got to this coast, you're going into the 7s, 8s, 9s, and hey, Naples, Marco, it's millions. So, in fact, one of them in particular, Miramar Lakes, a community down in Estero, it's not even in Naples yet, they are over $2 million as their median price. So yes, as you go south, things get more expensive. You're going to also find that Fort Myers and all the cities that follow south, the majority of them have gated communities. Prices in gated communities are higher. That's why Fort Myers is higher than Cape Coral, and why the southern cities of Fort Myers are more expensive than they are. Those communities, there's just a higher price, there's more amenities, there's more lavish things to experience in your daily lives, and they're usually located very close to the things you might be looking for, whether it's shopping or dining or beaches. But that's the reality. Rent prices, the least expensive in some of the places that people just don't want to live. And I'm not going to slam any particular area, but if you go east, that's what I'm talking about. I'm sure many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. But going out that way, you can start your rent in the $1,500 to $1,800 per month for a single family home, and it's going to quickly get in the $2,000 and $3,000s. Rent is still very expensive for single family home. We are building a bunch of apartment buildings, but that's not going to help those folks that need to have affordable single family homes. Maybe you have big dogs, you need a fenced yard. Maybe you have kids that just need to run around, or you need some sport playing areas that you would with kids. Well, you're going to need a single family home. So that's what you need to know about the pricing of homes and the pricing of rent. It is getting a little bit more favorable because in the selling cases, the sellers are more reasonable. They're understanding they're not going to get top dollar anymore. So they are adjusting a little bit. Don't mistake that for a price fallout. Don't expect that for the market dropping. It's more realistic sellers that are making the scenarios easier for buyers. But the demand is still high. The inventory is still low. It's a little bit better than it was, but it's still low. And with interest rates adjusting under 7 now, and some of these builders out there are getting into the 5s and 4s with their rates, we're going to start to see this market go nuts again. So if you're somebody that's been entertaining buying a home or even just getting in the area, you might want to start putting some serious consideration into it. Find yourself somebody that's competent that can really help you through this process, explain what you're getting into, the areas you're going to go into, and get on that trail. Because if these rates continue to do what they're doing, we're going into an election year. I think people are trying to buy votes. So if that's the case and you need to be in Florida, you might want to get going on that now. All right, so again, this was just to revisit an all-new list of reasons to avoid Florida. If you can't handle these things that we talked about, but I will tell you this, Florida rocks. It has the absolute best climate. It has the beaches, all the waterfront. We are just blessed to be here. People here are relatively kind overall. And if you can handle some of these minor inconveniences, then Florida just might be a place for you. So if you need more information about moving to the area and just want to find a little bit more out, check out one of these other videos. And if you've got a specific question that you need an answer to, you've got to do what everyone else is doing. Call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.